They have their own thing. Oh, we're live. Okay, well, welcome finally to 3-Digit World Cup. Yet another day of matches. Big match we have going on: South Korea versus China. We have been delayed by about 10 minutes, unfortunately, due to I don't know, some silliness, let's call it. But I am nautzz, joined by iFlame. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thankfully, after a little bit of silliness, we do finally get the roles. And we should be getting into pick bans. But while we are getting into pick bans, waiting for those, why don't we talk about these teams quickly? Do you want to start with China?
I mean, China is just, they have the four. They have the four that you're looking for the three Lololols and Crystal. They have that, and they also have Jack Wang and Joseph Joestar to cover the DT. I mean, it's just a roster. If you're not aware of them, you really ought to be, if you care about the tournament scene at all. They are a force to be reckoned with, and I think their seeding does not really speak to how good they are and how much of a threat they are. It's a bit of a common theme of China, HK, like some of these teams. They've always kind of had a dark horse thing going on. They often qualify relatively low, but punch way above their weight in terms of seeding.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And I mean, they got second place just last year, and it's the returning four that you mentioned. When you look on the other side, though, South Korea, an equally very stacked team this time around, second seed. But not only that, you look at this lineup, and these are players that have found a lot of tournament success lately, and have played together in quite a few tournaments. You know, you look at the players, Nope KJK, worst R player, had some really good success in OWC recently, getting second place, and honestly with some pretty big upsets. But not only that, I think, was it maybe 4 out of 6 of these players were also part of the Korean team that got 4th place in a very stacked Course Ace tournament. So they've just continued to get better and better. Worst HR player especially has been an absolutely standout player for them lately, and was not here last week for them, but hoping Worst HR player is here this week, and I think this is going to be a very competitive match. Though, with that being said, we do have the first ban from South Korea. It is going to be the DT3, so they do not want to play that kind of alt-ish DT map.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent ban. I think any kind of, it's just something China is so good at. They're so good at that. So it's a great ban.
Yeah,
there's not much more to say about it. It's yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. China has been very dominant on the DTs all tournament, and I mean, especially when you look at qualifiers, South Korea had really impressive qualifying scores pretty much everywhere except for the DT. That was kind of the one weakness of theirs. I think they got a top 5 in almost everything except for DT. So I honestly would not be surprised at all to see them go ahead and ban out a second DT on top of the DT3. We do have the HD3 ban, from China though. So that's
Low
going to be
AR.
the low AR. I think this does make a lot of sense. China was notably very good on any of those kind of unusual picks. So those are things like the low AR HD3, the CS 6.5 HR3. South Korea was also very good at, and so I'm curious if we see China go to ban out the something like the Hard Rock 3, or if we see them opt for another hidden or potentially something else completely.
Yeah, maybe something in free mod. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, for SK, depending on what they feel on the Jesus Christ, my mic just almost flew off my head. I'm sorry. It's depending on how they feel on the speed. Maybe something like free mod 1 is even a possibility to ban, because free mod 1 I think is one of the hardest maps in the pool. It's quite tough, it's quite straining, but I think you can't go wrong with something like DT1 or DT4. Actually, China bans DT4 is something I definitely was not expecting. I think they're pretty good on that map, or at least on paper, but...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have talked about them being very strong on DT in theory. Now, they did play the DT4 last week, which was, of course, a little bit different, but they didn't have the... They had a strong performance on it, but nothing amazing. So this week, they don't feel like they can match up to South Korea. And it is a very awkward DT because of the AR9 and how low that is compared to the rest of the other DTs. It does honestly play more like a kind of an old style no mod map rather than an actual DT pick.
Yeah.
So it's not the most surprising. And South Korea now, I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually ban out some of the speed, but they're going to ban out Nomad 1. Okay.
Interesting. I mean, it's a bit of an oddball, Nomad 1, just by the fact alone that it's CS5. It's, I don't think one necessarily notices the CS5 all too much on it. It doesn't feel like gimmicky or, all too different. Like, it's still a Nomad 1, but... I mean, I guess they're just afraid of China's inconsistency on stuff like the Nomad 1, which I can respect. It's yet another thing which China is really, really scary on. I think it's a consistency question, because of course South Korea can play the map. It's just a matter of confidence in being able to put up, three-way or close to three-way, because I think, honestly, the standard's likely to be very high in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're in these kind of earlier rounds, honestly, anywhere before finals, when you're looking at these two teams that are potentially, top of the leaderboard in this tournament, like these are two teams you could easily see making top 3. You can expect that on these kind of maps that do tend to be more comfortable, like the Nomad 1, it's not so much a question of how well can you play Nomad 1, it's more of a question of how consistent are you on the pick. Now, I will say as well, this pool does not feature a lot of super comfortable aim. You look at the typical aim picks, Nomad 1, HD1 are both fairly awkward aim. I would say the only kind of comfortable aim here is probably the HR1 and the DT1. So
DT1 has a lot of bursts, though, to be fair.
It does.
So it's pretty bursty for being a DT1. So even there, you might run into some discomfort. Actually, the DT2 first pick from China is interesting. I would actually consider this one of the easier maps in the pool, but that might be something taken into consideration. Just China relying on having faith in their consistency on this. Because this is honestly something I would expect to even see a three-way on. I believe we saw it in the Indonesia match, the Thursday match. I believe there was a three-way very close to it, and I'm pretty much expecting to see that here as well. It's China. I mean, China does have a killer DT lineup. Jack Wang, Josar, super good at this, and I believe Milk Tea typically to fill it out.
Yeah, I think last round they just put up some crazy scores on the speed pick. I think it was the DT2 specifically. Yeah, they had 3.2. Okay, that was the DT1. Did not play either the DT2 or 3, so I'm not 100% certain. But I think they're going to do very well on this one regardless, and like you said, I expect to see quite a few FCs on both sides. Now, talking about the players too, I think Crystal is going to have to come up big for China in this match. Was the #1 overall performer for in the entire tournament in round of 16, so I think they're going to be looking for Crystal to put up a similar performance against South Korea here if they want to move on, because South Korea is no easy match. And South Korea, I'm still not seeing worst HR player. Now, to be fair, I don't think worst HR player would be in for the speed anyways.
Yeah, it's not really his skill set.
No, but we do hope that he is here this time around, because this is not really the kind of match you can afford to miss a key player on. And here we go, into the DT2. First match, SK and China. Oh, gonna be a good one.
Yeah, likely to be one where any miss matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even early on, something to look out for. Just a light act drop from Allegrisimo to start things off. Nothing too exciting.
No, but we say a light act drop, and he's down at 92%. And while yes, he will recover, you have to be a little bit worried. Maybe not quite as comfortable as the rest in the players in the lobby who are, for the most part, holding above 98. Spectre does drop quite a bit of accuracy as well now, and so it's going to be the early advantage to China, but there's still so much map to be played, and South Korea really need to recover these accuracies, though. When you're looking at the difference between 99 and 98, it doesn't make a huge difference, but when you start dropping to 94, 93, even 95, the accuracy is a big factor, and this is the first really tricky section of the map. Nobody finding misses early on, though, and the accuracies are so good across the board. Even the players who dropped to the start, Spectre, Allegrisimo, are recovering the accuracy. Oh, but there goes Allegrisimo.
Oh, God.
That's a really big miss.
It's very close to the middle as well, so it's not the worst possible place, but it's very close to it.
Yeah, definitely not where you want to miss. Well, not that you want to miss anywhere, but there it goes.
Oh, God, what? Okay,
there goes
well,
Milk Tea.
Things stay very even. It is actually already 100k or so, but obviously this will be recovered over time, even with this very meager combo advantage. But never mind, that's gone too. Allegrisimo breaks again on absolutely nothing. I don't know what these misses are. These are no one missing on the actual stamina. The whole straining element of the map. The whole point of it. It's like
random
miss-aiming 3-star patterns.
There goes Milk Tea again, but Milk Tea is not the miss they need. Allegrisimo is only about 150 combo ahead of Milk Tea, and the problem is China has a pretty strong accuracy advantage, and that accuracy advantage is going to more than make up for that 150 combo advantage. So unless we see either Jack or Joseph find misses, South Korea cannot recover here, and those two have looked so strong on speed so far. I mean, just look at those accuracies. Both above 99.5 is incredible. Showing no signs of slowing down and coming to the end of this map. 100. There goes Jack, though. That's really big. Spectre and Jungwoo still holding. That score lead is going to go back over so quickly, and unless we see a miss from South Korea, I think there's more than enough time.
I think that's it. I do think that's it. It goes over to South Korea. Spectre breaks! There's no way.
Oh, it flips over at the last second. China takes it.
What?
7,000 points. And China are going to be breathing a sigh of relief. They did not want to give up the breakpoint on their very first pick, and
I can't believe the first map is already this. This is insane.
Yeah, they're getting by on the skin of their teeth here. And, oh man, South Korea, sadly, are not going to be able to take the breakpoint, but I think overall they can be pretty happy with their performance on that one. Nearly 2 FCs for them. Spectre with a slider break, actually, not even a miss. Just needed to hold on, honestly, about 10 combo longer, and they would have had it, but not going to be the case.
They've had slightly better accuracies. It's like, yeah, the margins are so thin. It's, oh man. The hidden one coming out for South Korea. I mean, it makes sense. I assume that the teams have come in rather well prepared. They seem to know what they want here. I do think South Korea, as much as China should absolutely be able to compete and put up good scores on this, I really like South Korea on Hidden. They have a really, really scary roster. Just the fact that you have no KJK and Amamiya Kokoro, I feel like is scary on its own. I will say it's as much as it is kind of leaning in the awkward direction here, this map, it's you know, it does some of the anti-jump stuff that you typically would see in Hidden Ones. It doesn't go too crazy with it. I think it's almost more notable for being CS 4.7, which is a very odd thing to see in this slot, but it's got some funny looking streams and like 2 sliders that look a lot scarier than they are because I believe there's no ticks on them. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a consistency battle. BPM not high enough to really make too big of a difference either, so. We'll be seeing the LOL squad. It's
Of course.
Of course.
I had to see it at least once.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the map. This is definitely the map, the mod category. We do expect it.
It is. David, Kurumi, Milk Tea, all very capable HD players, and I think player to watch out for here, Amamiya Kokoro on the side of SK has been a very, very strong hidden performer for them throughout the tournament so far, and I think we're going to look towards Kokoro for a good score on this hidden one. Of course, Worst 8's our player also in the lobby. And this is a little bit awkward. The jumps are kind of linear, and there are some weird overlaps as well. So not necessarily super comfortable like your typical HD one might be.
I'll say, I can't believe I neglected to mention worst HR player for the hidden roster. I was thinking no KJK. I am surprised to not see no KJK actually. But,
I am as well.
Jung Woo-young in for that slot. But yeah, I mean, South Korea has a hell of a hidden roster, so I think a strong foot forward for them, or at least should be on paper. Looking good so far.
Yeah, and it's looking good so far across the board. Actually, Kurumi is struggling a little bit with the accuracy, so it's going to put China a little bit behind early on, but with how long this map is and how tricky it is, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. I don't think we're going to be seeing a 6-way FC here, so shouldn't be a huge factor, but everybody's holding strong for now. Third of the way into the map now, and this map does get a little bit tougher as it goes on, but it is fairly consistent overall, so there's not going to be any massive difficulty spikes that should catch players out, but there are a lot of places very easy to miss. Everybody hitting that pattern as well, and into the next break, it is still 3 FCs on each team.
I remember there was one stream looking through the map in the editor. Oh my god, worst HR player. Yeah, a little bit of frustration. Shaking around his cursor a bit. Understandably, as he has just dropped a miss on pretty much nothing at all. And a huge opportunity for China. It is just about the worst place to break as well. Pretty sure that was more or less dead center.
Yep, pretty
already
much.
Getting a lead here. Already starting to approach 100k gap here.
Yeah, and Worst HR is now score capped at 650k, best case scenario, if they can FC the rest of the map. And there goes Amamiya Kokoro, and that is 2 FCs down for South Korea. China still holding the 3-way FC, and things are looking dire for South Korea here. They are going to need a miracle to make a comeback at this point, and potentially giving up a very early break point on their first pick.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's looking like it. I mean, you've dropped 2 of the FCs, 3 still going for the side of China.
And honestly, there's no big difficulty spike at the end of this map. There goes Kokoro again, and I think that's going to be it. So China are going to be getting a break point, and that's going to be really tough for SK. You know, giving up a break point, not always the end of the world, but when it's your first pick, it is just that much more devastating because generally your first pick is the pick you expect to win almost guaranteed.
Oh my god. It's
Okay.
lol supremacy. It's just... They are just insane. Yeah, three-way for China on SK's pick. Just
Yep.
total dominance.
They are laughing all the way home, and now they have the next pick here too. I mean, do we ever
Let's
see them just
consolidate
go
this.
for Skin Thief here?
Oh, I mean, I would love to. I think it's a fun way of going. I mean, it might be the case that these SK players are not necessarily hard speed capped and just uncomfortable on DT in general. I think I can imagine SK doing really well on Skin Thief. It's just I don't know. It's hard to say. It is something I do still like China on. Also, though, to be fair, it would be the two DT mains on the no mod speed for China, presumably. So who knows, really?
Yeah, hard to say. I mean, I think
say.
you make a good point. The DT speed does feel quite a bit different just because of the AR there, and so it is entirely different. But even if
DT1 is open, if they want to like fire away with yet another DT, and it is burstier than normal, so I definitely think that should advantage them. It's they have a really nice DT lineup.
Yeah, I mean, DT1 is an option, but the DT1, based on, you know, all the player feedback I've seen, does seem to be quite a bit easier than the rest of the pool. And so I think both of these teams are going to have almost no issues with the DT1, and it'll probably just turn into a consistency battle, and it'll probably come down to one or two misses. I, again, would not be surprised to see multiple SCs on this one, but there's the DT1.
There it is. I mean, the reason why I like it is, I don't know, I feel like China ought to have uttering total confidence in their ability to be consistent, because that's their main strength, basically always has been. And I think just trust your players. I do think they should take this.
And this is honestly very standard DT1, maybe a little bit more bursty than your typical DT1, but overall, the jumps aren't super challenging, and so it shouldn't pose problems to most of these players. And I think China is going to look to put up strong performances here and just be really consistent. They are going to be bringing Jack and Joseph back in. They're two DT mainstays here.
I gotta say, respect to them for being able to basically just sit on the bench and yet still be able to go in and perform. I don't know, it's a tough spot to be in when you're just like coming in for these singular maps, just 2-3 maps.
Yeah, especially when it's the DT, right? So not only do you have to be ready to play a map, but you better be ready to burst high BPM as well.
But ready they seem to be every time they're called upon. So I believe there is every reason to trust them.
I don't know if we can trust them. Might be a trap. Okay, I guess we should have trusted them.
We'll see. I'll say I'm not. I don't really know how to feel about the Korean lineup on this. I'm not. Something I'm not entirely familiar with how they feel on something like this.
Yeah, Jongwoo did find a very early miss, but it shouldn't matter too much. It is a long enough map, just over 3 minutes. As long as they are able to recover, and they're going to recover the accuracies as well, because there were a couple drops from both Jongwoo and Amamiya on the side of South Korea. And into the first chorus here is where we could start to see some breaks, but honestly, we really shouldn't be seeing any breaks, ideally. Is going to be one of the easier spikes in the map, so if you do find a miss on this one, it's so much harder to make up that combo on the later stages of the map. Kokoro is shaking a ton, but holds on, and that's what matters.
Well, the shakes are nothing new for him. It's every single match, pretty much. It's
Yeah, the shakes are just, a way of life for some players.
yeah, they really are.
It's going to be even across the board going into the break. Kurumi has dropped some accuracy, which is going to even things out. And it is China, just with that slight combo lead based on the early miss from Zhongwu at the start. Into the next section, there goes Spectre. That's a big drop. Now 700 combo behind, and China is going to jump out to a really big lead here. There's still a fair bit of jumps and streams into this chorus. Kurumi almost finds a miss, drops a ton of accuracy, but does manage to hold on.
It's yet another Korean miss basically in the middle of the map. This is killing them. This is really, really, really bad.
I mean, it's not just that. China just isn't missing. This is the second time in a row where they're 3/4 into the map and still holding 3 FCs. They go into the break, and South Korea knows what they need. And it's, at this point, probably misses from 2 players on the side of China. I'm not sure that 1 will be enough. They are very, very quickly running out of time. It's now 260,000 point difference, and I think this is just going to be a 3rd point for China.
Seeing some shakes from Kurumi as well. We're getting nervous. Ooh, Jack Wang overaims the stream there. I don't think it's early enough for it to matter. I think this is yet again going to go over to China regardless. Kurumi breaks as well, but the lead is much too big for it to matter.
Yeah, they got the misses they needed. They just got them far too late. Kurumi, 1 more miss to end off the map, but they have solidified their point and now up by 3.
Yet another 3 million team score. I mean, China are just so good. It is so hard to compete with this. I mean, even with the miss from Spectre, recovering beautifully, combos the rest of the map. This is a really, really good team score for SK, but China's just that bit better.
Yeah, I mean, really on these DT picks, you pretty much have to 3-way FC to even have a chance against China. But the kind of shining light for South Korea is that China is all out of DT picks, so they do have some other options that are on the speedier side, like that free mod 1, but even then, they are going to have to stray away from the DTs, which are those kind of higher AR picks that China has been performing so well on. And so they don't necessarily have those really free picks anymore, because when you look outside of the DT, South Korea has been, at the very least, comparable on most mod categories, if not better on certain ones.
Yeah, no, I definitely, and I mean, I'll say that especially the map we just watched was definitely competitive. It was just a very, very unfortunate place to break for Spectre.
Yeah.
And just a very, very strong team score from China. It's just really hard to beat. Yeah, definitely coming into some of these other maps, I do expect to see... South Korea's going to take a point. I don't think China's going to sweep this match.
No,
I think it's safe to say.
Not a chance.
It's very hard to imagine, but...
Yeah. I mean, I think that last map really just goes to highlight how important where you miss is. It was actually 2 misses on both teams because South Korea got their miss in the middle of the map and China found theirs in the end. It ended up being fairly dominant, and we do get a free mod 3 pick for South Korea. This is going to be the anti-mod, so CS5, AR8, and definitely curious about the mod categories here. You do only need 2 mods on a team. I don't imagine we're going to see too many over mods, but it is still early enough in the tournament that I could certainly see it.
Yeah, and the map is easy enough. I don't really like this pick, to be honest, because it's arguably one of the easier maps in the pool. It's definitely one I expect to see 3-ways on, and I don't think you want to pick that into China right now. That does not seem to be going your way right now, so Yeah, not a huge fan of the pick. I don't. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But
I would tend to agree, actually. And honestly, on the side of China, I would not be surprised to actually just see a double Hard Rock out of them. Both Crystal and Kurumi have been really liking the Hard Rock so far on these Fremont picks. And I mean, I think on this one, I don't think any other players are necessarily known for their, hidden AR rate abilities. And so I think we're just going to see them stick to the double HR, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the same on South Korea as well. But we are going to be getting worst HR player on the HD, and then everybody else, Allegrissimo, Kurumi, and Crystal on the Hard Rocks as we expected. Now, typically, you want to look to your nomod to put up high scores on these Fremont picks, but with the anti-mod, it is still AR8 with the no mod, so it is actually deceptively still quite challenging with the no mod, and I don't think you can rely on your no mods quite as much as you normally can with the other two free mod picks.
yeah, Nomad is not necessarily just easier, but I will say that it is the kind of map where you do pretty much have to FC. It's a lot of pressure. Like if you're gonna miss, you better do it late, or very early.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is going to be the double HR for China as expected, more or less. I think when you saw Crystal come in, that was pretty much always going to be the case.
Yep. Pay attention to worst HR player. As we get into this kind of very awkward jump section, you have the back and forth squares that overlap quite a bit, and that is where I think the HD does tend to be a fair amount harder than the HR, but worst HR having no problems with it whatsoever so far. But this map is full of the awkward aim all throughout, so we'll see how long they can keep that up. All three Hard Rock players actually looking very good so far.
Yeah, this is the kind of anti-mod. It happens quite often on these maps where I just feel scared for the hidden player. I always feel more scared for the hidden player. It's so much harder to be consistent on, even if the map isn't that hard. It's so easy to slip up.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy. It just takes, misreading one pattern. I mean, you see the cut streams as well. Those are, I mean, to me at least, some of the harder patterns with HR. There goes Kurumi. And now it's China who's missing in the worst spot possible, halfway through the map, and that's a big combo down. The score bar is going to jump over to the side of South Korea.
Finally for Korea. This is...
Yeah, and I mean, look at the map right now. This is a slow section. This is just free combo. Okay.
Oh, no. It's
you,
still... I don't know. It's still a bit of a lead. It really is not much, and it will not be building anymore.
Yeah,
so...
the lead is still there. Luckily, Kurumi did trade it back, but no KJK missed on absolutely nothing, and this was South Korea's point.
He's got S. His slider broke. How? There's nothing to slider break on. Oh no.
Yeah. I guess nothing is free combo on AR8, but let's see if South Korea can hold on to their lead. If that's what causes them to lose the point, it will be devastating. Okay, there goes no KJK again, and this time it's not traded back by Kurumi. The score bar is going to go back over, but the combo advantage is only 200, and I think it's a slight accuracy advantage for South Korea here. I'm not sure if there's enough time unless we see another miss from somebody on South Korea. We have seen no KJK missing over and over again. If he finds another miss, it's going to flip back over. It might go back over anyways. As we get, there goes Nope KJK again. Is there time?
Okay.
No, there's not.
Nope, doing everything in his power to try to make it more exciting. It still doesn't go over, but South Korea finally on the board.
I mean, he certainly succeeded in that regard, giving me a little bit of a heart attack.
I can't believe. I mean, yeah, he almost threw that. Almost.
I mean, and look at what it takes to beat China. They needed 2 FCs, both modded FCs, by the way, on Allegrissimo and worst HR player. On top of that, they needed a solid score from Nope KJK, who got the 630k, and that was just barely enough. Now, the score is 3-1, which doesn't look amazing, but I do always like to remind people that South Korea has actually only dropped 1 breakpoint in this match, so despite being down by 2, they only need 1 breakpoint, assuming they continue to win their own picks, and they're right back to even.
Yeah. No, I mean, also China's gone through, you know, 2 of their probably strongest picks into South Korea, which were also not even, you know, that far apart. Like, South Korea had a shot on those, especially the DT1.
Absolutely, some close DT maps, and now we're gonna have to see China pivot away, like you mentioned, and I'm honestly not sure what they go for. I mean, we could potentially see them opt into.
Okay, it is Skin Thief.
Okay,
yeah, it's happening. We're live.
I mean, this makes
speed again.
A lot of sense to me. You run out of DTs, you go for the next fastest option, and that is Skin Thief. Now, this map is pretty stamina intensive, honestly. The streams are 230 BPM, very dense, pretty non-stop. Actually, I was just commentating another open ranked match a moment ago, and saw a couple players get absolutely destroyed on Skin Thief. So
yeah,
hopefully these players fare a little bit better, but you honestly really do have to be quite fast. I will say, the map, because of how dense the bursts and the streams are, it is actually double tappable, but you can't just go in and, you know, spam double tap as fast as you can and hope for the best. If you are going to double tap this map, you do have to get the timing right, and it will absolutely destroy your accuracy. So certainly not recommended.
I mean,
and with how good both of these teams are,
yeah,
I don't think any of them should need to double tap.
No, with the caliber players here, I don't think there's any concern. As much as it's a harder map for the pool, I mean, they can perform up to this level. It's just that maybe we're no longer in the 3-way or die territory, kind of, you know, that we seem to have been in for a bit here, where, you know, every single combo matters. It's actually not going to see Jack Wang in. I think maybe the length of the streams, maybe the kind of other elements that come into it. There's some tougher kind of slider sections, I guess.
Possibly, and this map is kind of an interesting free mod, because again, the streams are dense enough that even if you take the hard rock, there's no spacing on any of those patterns. So neither of the mods actually add too much difficulty to this map. Yes, it does make it harder, but you can honestly fairly comfortably go something like the hidden hard rock. The aim is not a huge requirement as long as you have the speed. So the smaller circles are not a big worry on the hard rock. And we are actually going to see Zhongwu going for a bit of an overmod here, hidden hard rock, whereas we are just going to see the standard hidden, one hard rock on the side of China. And so if Zhongwu can hold on to combo, then that extra mod multiplier could make a difference. Mommy Kokoro does find an early miss. Fairly long map though, as long as they can recover, shouldn't make a huge difference. Zhongwu is getting obliterated already though. Accuracy down at 95, got entirely 100s on the stream and then missed the last note. And might be a sign of what's to come. Joseph finds a miss now, and there goes Spectre trading it right back. Equal trade, but I think China are going to be happier with the trades, because if you have such a big accuracy advantage, the combo doesn't matter nearly as much, because as you can see, despite having pretty even combo, Joseph has significantly higher score than Zhongwu, just because of that massive accuracy difference. And that is just going to be amplified as this match continues.
I'll say the major thing for the HR players are the big courses with the heavy streams is not the scary thing, it's everything in between. Because, I don't know, even though the spacing is not that big and everything, it's pretty high BPM, it's pretty hectic. It's
yeah, and David did find a miss not too long ago on that easier section. Zhongwu trades it back, but that's going to be a good trade for South Korea. An FC for about half an FC, and it's going to even things back out. Amami Kokoro, only about 100 combo behind Milk Tea, so not going to be too worried there. And then, oh no, Joseph! That's a disaster. China going to be able to hold on to their lead for a little bit, but Spectre has so much combo that the score lead will go back over unless we see a break. David doing his best to hold on to some combo. There goes Strong Woo again. It was only 200 combos, so not going to be a big loss for South Korea. There goes Joseph again, and those two players are going to continue trading. There goes Amami Kokoro. That's the big combo for South Korea, and disaster strikes for them. China should be able to close this one out now, barring any massive misses from Milk Tea and David. If they can close this one out, though, I think that's it. I don't know that Spectre has the combo to make a comeback here. Jongwoo misses again, not going to be helping the case for South Korea, and we might just see an FC out of Milk Tea here. So good at the speed. These ending streams are so brutal, though. They are just non-stop.
No!
There goes Milk Tea, finally.
Oh my god.
There goes David, and I mean, there goes the whole lobby.
Milk Tea got trolled.
Kokoro.
He got trolled so hard by the reverse.
I think that was a one slider break.
Yeah. It's he got caught by one of the reverses. I think you have to aim the middle of it. It's really cringe, but I think it only does it at the ending. Like, they get big enough, you have to aim the center.
Yeah. And South Korea actually looked pretty good on the map. It just came down to they couldn't find that third player to comfortably play the map. You see Amami Kokoro, Spectre both putting up very respectable scores in that 600k range. Just Strong Woo, unfortunately, couldn't quite keep up, and it's going to put South Korea at a 4-1 deficit here. Now, South Korea does have the pick, and they're going to look to get some momentum back in their favor. And they do still have quite a lot of pick options, despite China being a very strong team and up 4-1. I feel like throughout this pool, there's probably more picks left over that favor South Korea, and I feel like there's very few picks that favor China.
Well, the scary thing about China is that even if there's nothing that clearly favors them, they will still be competitive on every map on the board. I don't think there's any map here that China will just completely falter on and be unable to compete. It's there's nothing safe, I think, I think it's a bit of a mental boon for China to be able to rely on that. That they get to have these picks that they are very reliable on, that they can just definitely take. And South Korea, I don't know if they really have anything like that. It's I mean, if I had to guess, it'd be you go into some of the more gimmickier stuff. You go into maybe Nomad 4, Nomad 5. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I think it's absolutely the right choice to make. You go for something completely different.
I think so too. I think you called it perfectly. Going for this gimmick really plays into South Korea's strong suit. This Nomad 5 map is fairly tricky, but not crazy hard. It does have quite a bit of aim control. And the thing with this map is that the rhythms in this map I don't think are necessarily very intuitive. So on your sight read, it is a very tricky map to get a good read on. But a lot of the rhythms and patterns are fairly repetitive. So there's really only 3 or 4, probably 3 different rhythms that you actually need to learn that just repeat throughout the map. So really, you only need 1 or 2 playthroughs. And if you can get those patterns down, you're pretty set. And I really love this. I feel like worst HR player, this is his kind of map.
Yeah,
no KJK as well can absolutely pop off on something like this. I mean, it was quite some time ago now, but you look back to the World Cup, and it was these picks that in the grand finals that worst HR player put up some crazy solo carry performances on, and he's going to be looking to do the same here, though. Crystal, though, is in the lobby. Haven't seen much of Crystal today. Top performer last week, and looking to compete against the likes of worst HR player. I do think South Korea is favored by a fair amount, but being favored only means so much. At the end of the day, you got to show up, you got to put up the scores, and you got to make it happen. And China will not make it easy for them.
I'll say that as much as the patterns are very repetitive and like clearly communicated in the map, most of them are designed in a way that's hard to execute, especially in a match scenario. They're, I don't know, it's definitely with the kinds of players out here, though, I do expect them to be, you know, more comfortable on this than the average tournament player. It's likely to see some high scores, but also likely to see some misses, such as from Kurumi here to start things off.
Would not be surprised to see a lot of misses on this map, and this map doesn't really give you much of a break. There are some easier parts, but there's so many places to miss on. Kurumi going to be following up with another break, and you cannot afford to lose focus on this map. Well, yes, like I said earlier, there's only a few patterns to learn, but it is constantly alternating between those patterns, and so you really have to stay on your toes and make sure you're aware of when each pattern is showing up in the rhythm. And if you drop concentration for even a second, it'll cost you, and could be the case with Kurumi. Just doesn't seem comfortable with the map, not only dropping accuracy over and over again, but down at 94% accuracy, far below the rest of the lobby. And this map is really short. We're already halfway through the map, and South Korea, because of the accuracy and the drops from only Kurumi, is going to be at 200,000 point lead. There goes Crystal, and that's big. I mean, honestly, if we don't see misses from South Korea on the next pattern, it's probably just over. This slider section is not that crazy difficult. They all hit the space section, and South Korea is looking really good to take this point, and they could do so in very dominant fashion here. I mean, surely we don't see a three-way SC on no mod 5, right?
I don't.
Right?
I don't think so, but I don't know. If any team was gonna do it, it would be Korea. They have it in them. Okay, almost.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the big one I was expecting to see a miss on.
Yeah.
Hanamiya Kokoro gets caught out by it, unfortunately.
I mean, even
the rhythm there is funky. The rhythm is
crazy.
It's like odd to where you're snapping. That's the hard part. Is like, Christ.
And these are the two players we called out at the start of the match, right? Worst HR player and no KJK. This is what they are so good at. These alt finger control rhythmic maps, and they have no problem whatsoever both getting the FC. And honestly, even with the miss from Kokoro, that is an insane team score. 2.5 million on No Mod 5. Obviously, we still have some matches left to be played this weekend, but I could see that being top score for the...
oh, yeah. I would expect this to be
round.
top score. I have a very hard time imagining any other team matching that. I guess it would be the US would be the top contender to do anything about that. It's but yeah, I mean clearly this is what they need to be going for. I think given the kind of map it is, I will say China can absolutely do better on that, especially Kurumi. I think it's just the kind of map where if you don't find your footing early on, you're probably never going to find it. It's like you're feeling it and you can play it, or you can't. And Kurumi could not, decidedly. It's,
unfortunately, and
yeah,
I do think it's one of those maps where if you don't play a decent amount of those rhythmic maps, outside of tournaments, it's really hard. It's not really the kind of skill set you can just, get the pool, play it for a week, and be super comfortable on the map. Because not only is it the really intense rhythms, it's AR8 as well, right? While
you need
China
to
has been
really
solid on the AR8, it's hard to find three people who are good at both the rhythm and the AR8. I think that takes a special type of player, and South Korea just happens to have two of them.
Oh, HR3. Okay. This is kind of relying on just HR. I mean, it's just trying to pick it into we're gonna three-way or close to it again. It's I think it's good. The circle only. Slightly awkward aim precision. I mean, it's crystal time, pretty much.
Certainly is crystal time, but again, I honestly think we're early enough in this tournament that the quarterfinal stage, you're not gonna have crystal. Well,
he's not gonna solo carry.
I shouldn't speak too soon, but it's not like it's gonna be a solo carry. Sorry, from Crystal. I think he'll put up a good score. But I could easily see, I mean, Allegrissimo especially, very good HR player for SK, is going to be looking to match.
Absolutely. We're certainly early on enough that I expect to see pretty high averages. I mean, we've seen it throughout the whole match. Really only last two maps, kind of outliers in the pool, I would argue. So
yeah, and this is kind of what I was referring to earlier, right? China picks the HR3, which while I could certainly see them taking a point, I wouldn't necessarily favor them on it. It feels very coin flip. South Korea I mean, especially looking at qualifiers, we're so dominant on the Hard Rocks as a whole, and are certainly no slouches. I think it is going to be a close one either way. Worst HR
worst
player,
HR.
what are you doing? Why,
His aim
why are you
looked a bit
cursor
funny in the
dancing
beginning there. It's I don't know. There's some adjustments needed to be
Yeah,
made.
I don't know if that was a cursor adjustment or just trolling.
No, it's
but
the snaps looked a bit off. I think just needed to get used to the AR. Well, David trades. It's fine. It's
Yep.
we're all balanced out.
I mean, not only trades, right? But David is now 120-ish combo behind worst HR player, so that trade is actually going to favor South Korea because worst HR player has recovered accuracy really nicely as well, despite the miss still above 99. That was just an unlucky miss on the slow part, whereas David is falling a little bit behind, dropping to 97, but is recovering nicely. I honestly don't think the accuracy is going to be a huge factor in this one. We're going to see a lot more breaks here. And this is another one of those awkward aim packs. There's just so much awkward aim throughout this pool. The Nomad 1, the HD1, and the HR3, which we're playing now. South Korea, no more misses since that first one from Worst HR. If they can hang on for a little bit longer, they're going to be in a really good spot. They're now up by 150,000, but the combos are high on the side of China. They have 2 FCs with David not far behind, so if we do see a miss from South Korea, the score is going to go back over so quickly. Oh, but there goes Karumi and Crystal.
It's over.
It is, yeah.
China has just imploded. This is disaster for China. It's already like a 400k lead. Even without Mamiya Kokoro missing again, it really doesn't matter. Neither of these 2 FCs are going anywhere. And it's just going to be a point for South Korea on finally on a Chinese pick.
Yep. And
oh man.
okay, there goes everybody at the ending. That's a tough ending, but
It's brutal.
Again, South Korea was only 1 breakpoint behind China. They've now evened it up, so if they can win their own pick here, we're gonna have a 4-4 match, and it will be anyone's game. And the risky pick not really paying off for China. South Korea, who has been really strong on HR, still have the HR1 and the HR2 available, which I feel like probably favors them a little bit. Alternatively,
I think HR2 and Nomad 4 are like the ones I would argue. HR1 is still like, I mean, China underperformed a little bit on the HR3, and I mean South Korea did super well. So
I mean,
HR1 is like it gets a bit too consistency flavored. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit scary. Whereas I don't know, Nomad 4, HR2, you know, some of this gimmickier stuff, I really like Korea's chances on those.
No, 100%. You know, I'm also thinking, does South Korea just pick towards worst HR player? Now, that is kind of hard to do. When you think of worst HR player, right, you think of the ult, you think of finger control. When you look at what's left in the pool, there's the Nomad 3, which, to be honest, is really easy for the pool. And so, against a team like China...
1-6. I feel like it's weird because it's easy, but it has breakable patterns. I feel like it's uncomfortable. It's, I mean, personally, I don't really love that as a pick because I feel like it's likely...
No.
It's likely not to go your way in a way that's quite tilting as well. Yeah, HR2 going to be the pick for South Korea. I like that a lot. It's pretty much exactly what I want to see them go for. It's what should work out well for them, especially off the back of just an amazing team performance on the HR3.
Yep, and honestly, this is going to be very standard Hard Rock tech. You know, there are a couple of aim control patterns that are fairly spaced.
Especially in the second half, there's some cuts that are kind of scary, and they're like a big fat space, like 5-node burst or something. At the very ending of it, I think.
Yeah, I think there's one 4-node. If I'm remembering the map correctly, I want to say there's one 4-node space pattern as well that caught out almost everybody in the Australia-Russia match earlier today. So, assuming I'm not thinking of another map, which honestly, with my memory, is very possible. We'll see if anyone gets caught out on that, or if they can hold on. We are going to see Crystal coming in once again. No surprises there, as well as Milk Tea and Karumi. Kokoro Kokoro, sorry, Allegrissimo, and worst HR player. South Korea going to be keeping almost the same lineup.
I'll say the main kind of point of concern on this one would be you really don't want to miss in the first half, because I think it's a shorter map. It's likely to hurt a lot, and really most of the hard parts are in the second half. The second half is significantly harder, I would say. So
yeah, if you miss at the start, it is okay.
Okay, that's too early. That's very early. So I don't think that matters all too much. That is not good though.
Okay. What is going on? This is 2 maps in a row where South Korea is trolling early on, right at the start. There goes the first cut stream. Does catch out Kurumi and Allegrissimo, so South Korea are going to be very happy with that trade. Worst HR player, luckily not too far behind. Did drop a bit of accuracy, but does seem to be recovering fairly nicely. And honestly, worst HR player is very good at these kind of maps as well, so you should expect him to recover accuracy as the map goes on. But very short map, we're already halfway through already, and it is a 100,000 point lead for China so far. Because of how short the map is, the score lead can flip back over very, very quickly if we see any misses. And we're getting into the second half of the map now that you've been talking about, the harder section. And we're going to see if anybody gets caught out here. I expect to see multiple misses on the space patterns. Here we go. There goes Milk Tea. That's a really big miss. FC dropped. The score bar is going to go back over so quickly.
Okay.
And here's the break. All the pressure is on South Korea. They see the miss from Milk Tea. They know that they can win this if they can just hold on. But they need to hold. Honestly, they need about 10 more seconds, and they have it. Here we go. This pattern is so tricky coming up. Everybody hits the jumps. It's looking good for South Korea. The scoreboard finally flip backs over. It's a very tricky ending. Big jumps, tricky patterns. Even the sliders are tough. Everybody holding for now.
There we go. Everyone hits that. Okay.
And I think China might be out of time here. The score lead has grown to 200,000. And okay, there goes Kokoro. Nobody misses, but
too late.
It's
a 100K gap. Close map.
Man.
South Korea evens things up. What an insane team performance from both teams on this, actually. The scores are so high.
They're crazy.
Crystal is... I don't know. Yeah, Crystal is doing Crystal things. He gaps the whole lobby.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we mean, right? Crystal, obviously, like I think you expected, puts up a very impressive score on the map, but it's way too early for Crystal to solo carry. And just getting that 900k on multiple players is more than enough to match, and South Korea takes the point. And this is now a best of 3 here. Each team has 1 pick left before we may be heading to tiebreaker. And the picks are thin now. It is really tough, I think, at this point for China to find a pick that they can win convincingly. They did give up their last pick, a break point. And I mean, if you're China, nautzz, where do you go from here?
I don't know. It's kind of a scary time. I mean, it always ends up being this way. You get this deep into the pool. It's really hard to say where to go from here. As much as they just lost HR2, HR1 is a possibility. It's not one you're terribly enthused about, but it's there, and something I think they ought to perform pretty convincingly on. I think you want to mainly avoid like Nomad 4. Hidden 2 is a weird one. I don't know what to think about Hidden 2.
Hidden 2, I could go either way. It's definitely risky. I think I like your HR1 pick over the Hidden 2. I'm curious about the Nomad 3.
Nomad 3 is a possibility,
It's a possibility just because it's kind of easier. So if they think they need to go for the coin flip, they have the option, but they're going to go for the free mod 2 instead. And I'm honestly a little bit shocked by this one. I would have suggested this as a pick for South Korea, right? This is one of those very rhythmic aim control maps that you would expect both Nope KJK and a worst HR player to be very strong in. And I expect you see, there it is, Nope KJK in the lobby, no surprises. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Crystal to put up a good score on this one because you need somebody to match worst HR player here.
Well, Crystal himself saying every map he's played they've lost so far, so he really wants to change that, I imagine. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like the real big thing about this one for me is that quite a lot of it, it's a short map, and there's a good 30 seconds probably of pretty much nothing, and then it gets back into it after a like intense start. I don't know, it feels, to me, it's just a map that's uncomfortable to play in tournament. Like, you don't, it's scary. It's scary when you have to contend with a... It's not that terribly difficult to map, though, so that does kind of balance it out. Maybe it is just relying on consistent performances and not wanting to go for the full length of HR1 on that kind of thing, especially after losing 2 HR picks. It's definitely understandable.
Well, here we go. Shirley, nope. Shirley, worst HR player, wouldn't miss at the very start of the map 3 times in a row. We do have the mods in, HD for worst HR player, and the Hard Rock for Allegrissimo. And of course, we do have the double Hard Rock on Crystal and actually Milk Tea, sorry. And no surprises, really. China has been running the double Hard Rock on pretty much every free mod. They're just very, very comfortable on the Hard Rock picks, and they're going to be sticking with it. And additionally, of course, Hard Rock with the Scorby 2, I think it's worth a little bit more than the Hidden. So if they can hold on to their combos, they're going to get that little bit of added bonus for having that Hard Rock over the Hidden. But I think on a pick like this, the Hidden is probably slightly easier, especially knowing how good worst HR player is on these kind of maps, even with the Hidden. And so, going to be scary for China. The other thing here, as we get into the tough section of this map, we could definitely see some breaks here. This part is really tricky. But look at the... Oh, there it goes! David, that's a big miss. This map is pretty short. We're already 3/4 of the way through. I mean, look at the accuracies. Yes, there's the multiplier advantage, but Crystal's at 96. Worst HR player, 99.4. And the mod advantage is more than negated by the accuracy difference. And 3 FCs on the side of South Korea. Oh, there goes Allegrissimo. That's a big miss. David...
It's probably too late. I think so, Allegrissimo has too much score. You needed one more break. If you got one more break from Korea, that would have been possible. But especially with David breaking again, there was just nothing in it. Yeah, unfortunately, China drops a point. South Korea finally takes the lead in the match.
No KJK with a casual SS on a finger control alt pick, by the way. I mean, this is why I was a little bit baffled by this pick. I mean, maybe you feel this is the pick you're most comfortable on, but you look at South Korea. You have to get really lucky for players like worst HR and no KJK to miss anywhere on this map. I feel like if you're China going into this, their logic had to be, all right, yeah, we'll triple FC this. It won't be a problem, and was not the case. And now they're giving up a break point. South Korea is now on match point as the pick. And they still have a couple options that favor them here. There's the Nomad 4 that you mentioned earlier. I mean, I would have suggested the Nomad 2, which is gone. I don't think we see the HR1. And then...
No. Definitely
honestly, I feel like it has to be the Nomad 4, right? Yes, they could go for the HD2 or Nomad 3, technically. I think those would be okay for them. But it would be really coin flip, and it looks like... Okay, no. Sorry, I thought that was an HD2 pick, but I'm just getting baited by Crystal.
Yeah. I'll say China might have been scared off of HR1 by losing the 2 HR picks, and I think probably they shouldn't have. Probably they should have just stuck with it and actually still picked HR1. But yeah, Hidden 2. Okay. Hidden 2 for South Korea here, and I mean, it's okay. I think I like it a bit better than Nomad 3 at least.
Agreed.
It's kind of a... I don't know what to call. I mean, it's kind of light tech. It's like kick slider spam. Yeah. The whole map is just, it spams kick sliders, and it's. I mean, you're basically just playing jumps, but they're sliders instead of circles, and so it's a bit easier to break. And kind of the object organization is a bit different.
Yeah, to me, this is like the definition of light tech, right? You have your aim and finger control elements, sorry, in there as well. But that there's like a decent mix of light aim control, light tech. Hidden does make it a bit harder, but there's no super intensive tech and no super intensive aim control. But honestly, South Korea has a terrifying roster for this.
They do, but that's also why I kind of prefer the no mod tech, because I feel like it leans heavier into that. But this one, you know, still a perfectly decent pick. But also we're seeing the triple lololols, the lololol supremacy here. I don't know. I think China has a really good shot of bringing this to TB.
I think so too. I mean, this one could go either way very easily. This is a very short map, so in 1 minute and 51 seconds, we will find out whether we are going to TB or if South Korea is just going to be taking this match 6-4. And thankfully, worst HR player is going to avoid the early miss. The potential final map for the tiebreaker is not the place to do it. Nobody getting caught out on the buzz sliders, but it's a fairly easy section at the start. Nobody breaks on that first pattern, although worst HR does drop a ton of accuracy. That's a tough pattern. Two of them. Everybody except Kurumi finds a miss, and that's going to be pretty big. Yes, they're only 200 combo behind, but the map is so short, you really can't afford it. And now they desperately need a breaks from South Korea, and there goes Kurumi. No. All FCs down.
Well,
and, oh man,
I think it might already be over. Like, SK has 3 FCs across the board to nothing. It's just really hard to imagine China doing anything about this, even if they FC the rest of the map here. They need...
There goes Kokoro.
They have 1.
There's a chance.
They need more.
I think if they get one more miss,
if they get one more, they have the combo lead.
Happen on this pattern. Oh no, there goes Milk Tea again.
Yeah, no. I think it's already becoming too late here.
Yeah, time is
the 600k mark.
Okay, there goes Kurumi. There goes David, and no KJK misses, but it doesn't matter. China's time is up. Worst HR player might just
Maybe
get
the SD on this one.
underestimated
just how effective the hidden element of this would be. I did not expect hidden to screw China this badly, but seems it has.
It was not the pick in the end. Are we going to see an FC though? This is not an easy map.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing at the end, so that's definitely, and you know, he wouldn't be so silly as to over-aim that slider.
Surely not. An incredible score from from worst HR player to close this one out. And China they started so strong, but they got through the DTs, they got through that speed pick in the free mod 1 on top of a breakpoint, and then it felt like they just ran out of options. Yes, they're so good on the DT, so good on the speed, but after that, they failed to find a category where they could take on South Korea. And South Korea from 4-1 to 6-4, making a very swift comeback here. And they are going to be moving on to the next round. China will be dropping down to losers bracket.
I'll bring up the bracket. We'll have a gander. It's
yeah. See what the matchups here.
Gonna be facing Australia in losers, so pretty tough matchup for Australia, I think.
Yeah, you have to feel for Australia. I mean, they looked great against Russia, but having to go against China in round 2 of the losers bracket, it's going to be so tough. I mean, honestly, yes, China is going to the losers bracket, but realistically, South Korea China is a matchup I could easily see replaying itself much later in this tournament. Finals, even grand finals, I could see it easily. Both these two teams are so strong. I mean, despite the 7th seed, we saw how good China looked on some of these picks. South Korea, unfortunately, just looked a little bit better. And you have the schedule. Do you have the schedule pulled up? I believe we have a match at 17 UTC next.
It's 16 UTC. Hong Kong, Germany will be determining the who faces South Korea in the next stage, and the winner of that will face South Korea. And you know, yet another pretty exciting match. I'd I mean, I'd recommend you all come watch it. It's you know, in about 40 minutes or so. We have 2 more matches later on in the day as well. 17 UTC will be US Italy, and then at 20 UTC we have Sweden Canada to finish off the weekend. But for now, we'll be signing off, I believe.
Yes, we will. I highly recommend checking out the next match as well. You get to spend more time with the lovely nautzz. Thank you so much for joining me in the commentator booth and Hoki for the stream.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys all for watching. Hope to see you in 40 minutes. Take care.